Saturation in the Word of God and saturation in His person is what this is all about. We're trying to discover the person of Jesus Christ. We're looking into Christology. And as our base, of course, we're looking at Matthew chapter 1 and chapter 2, which is a very significant foundational point out of which Matthew is going to give his entire treatise and evangelistic message, which is an attempt to win the Jews to Jesus Christ. See, Matthew's desperate. He's got to get through to them. He's got to get through to his own people. He wants to win them. He wants them to know the wonder of the person of Jesus Christ in their lives. He wants them to embrace this Messiah. The fulfillment of all the plan of God has come to pass, and they must not miss it. Can you imagine the tragedy of it? That all your life and all the life of your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather and clear back, there's been this one single passion, and yet that one single passion has literally been set aside and they've missed the whole thing. And Matthew's coming through loud and clear, saying, listen, wake up, man. Hey, get a hold of this. You've got to see the reality of truth. And so he brings us to Matthew chapter 1 and chapter 2, which again forms the base of the entirety of everything he wants to display in the following pages. So you're going to see everything in terms of the life of Jesus, in terms of His death, in terms of His resurrection, through the birthing process of the person of Jesus Christ. This forms the very basis of our Christology. And I trust you've been having a great time in saturating in the living Word and the written Word. Today we're looking again at Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 down through verse 12. And of course it is the whole scene of the wise men. And they have something to tell us. Matthew has put this in here distinctly on purpose, trying to communicate an amazing message to us. He's trying to get through to us. Oh, that we could have the heartbeat and the driving passion and the overwhelming thrill that the wise man had in finding the Christ. I guess there's something of a parallel established in this whole passage. And of course it's the parallel between the wise men who are outsiders and the Jews who are the insiders. And yet the wise men are thrilled and looking for and searching for, and they're after this new king, while the insiders, the Jews who have handled it so often, seem to be bypassing it, seem to have no interest at all, and are not intrigued or interested in belief in the person of Jesus Christ. I was amazed in my own personal saturation in this passage, and I don't know what you have discovered as you have been saturating deeply in verse 1 down through verse 12. Of course, the details are easy. Jesus is born, of course, in Bethlehem, and they have established their home there for a time. If we've got the timing down, we know that it's something like maybe 2 years of, that Jesus is 2 years of age. So after his birth, they didn't go back to Nazareth. They stayed in Bethlehem. Probably Joseph got a job and began to set up a home there. By this time, of course, they're in a house. You derive that, of course, from verse 11. And when they had come into the house, they saw the young child. So he's not at the stable. It's not the manger scene now. He is moving on into being a toddler. And in verse 1, we are now beginning with the search of the wise men for the person of Jesus Christ. Now in verse 2, you see what begins to take place. In their search, of course, they have gone up and down the streets. The grammar structure says that they have literally grabbed every man. They have gone up and down the streets, grabbing people, asking them the question, where is he that is born King of the Jews? Expecting that any Jew of that day would certainly know the answer to that question, because, hey, it's their king, you know, he's their king. They should certainly be in on it. But of course, to their amazement, nobody seems to know what they're talking about. They have come, of course, with an entire army encamped outside of the city of Jerusalem, which tells you something of the disturbance that they brought when they actually came to Jerusalem. An entire army has traveled with these wise men, however many there were, and some say there are 3 because of the gifts, of course, but we don't know that for sure. So there's an entire army traveling with these wise men, and again they are camped outside of Jerusalem, which brought an amazing disturbance to the city in verse 3. Herod, of course, has heard about it by this time, got up that morning, looked out the window, there's this army, probably made some inquiries, some of his spies came to him and said, hey, here's what's going on. Wise men are going up and down the streets asking, where is he that is born King of the Jews? And so Herod is troubled and distressed, and all Jerusalem with him. He has sense enough to gather together the chief priest and bring them in along with the scribes of the people. Maybe he went down to the temple and met with them. And it was of them he asked, where is this king going to be born? And of course prophecy brought the answer in verse 5 and 6. So Herod then had a secret meeting with the wise men, and he asked them specifically, letting on like he was really interested in this new king, had the same kind of desire that they wanted, was searching like they are searching for the same reason and with the same motive that they have. But of course it was all deception. And asked them what time the star appeared. He inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And then he sent them to Bethlehem and said, you guys go. And of course the star appeared. Now the indication of the passage is that they saw the star when it first appeared, that is, when they first went on the search. In other words, the star gave them the message. They somehow gleaned from the message that this was a new king that had been born and that they should go seeking. And then the star disappeared. They've been wandering around for possibly a year and a half, 2 years, trying to locate this newborn king unsuccessfully. Somehow they finally came to Jerusalem thinking that this is a Jewish king and that these people should know. And that was the reason for the inquiry. And now that they've gone again, after hearing Herod, they've been searching again on their way to Bethlehem. This star appears directly above them and begins to lead them again. And it says they are filled with overwhelming joy at the leadership of this star. That in verse 10. Then they actually come to the house, and the star lands right over the house as if it's pointing to this particular house, so they'd know exactly where the Christ child is. And now they've come in and they've worshipped him. Verse 11 is a phenomenal verse. It says, when they had come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And then the divine warning comes. Now I'd gone over and over and over and over and over this passage, saturated in it, as you have. And somehow it never dawned on me, it didn't get through to me until several weeks of involvement with this passage in prayer, that there was a primary question. That see, the whole passage revolves around, and why didn't I see this before, but it revolves around one single issue, that is, a question that's being proposed. And it's verse 2. Where is he? See, that's the dominant, predominant question and thrust of the entire passage. Where is he? See, everything revolves around that. Where is he? See, the actions of the wise men is all determined by where is he. See, the whole thing of Bethlehem is where is he. See, the whole upset of Herod is where is he. See, Jerusalem is all wondering where is he. See, the whole deal, the star is all about where is he. See, everything is about where is he, the whole focus of the passage. So you got this dominant question which literally focuses you in on what this particular passage is all about. Where is he? Do you realize how important that is? Do you realize that that is a universal question? Do you realize that that is the question of this hour and every single hour? Where is he? Do you realize that that is the driving passion of man in his inward being? Where is he? Do you realize that everything revolves around in our life, everything in our lives revolves around this one single issue? Where is he? Do you realize the motive for what we do seems to be involved in where is he? It's the location of God. You understand that the sociologists have never found a tribe, a civilization, a group of people, any place, anywhere, under any circumstances that did not worship. That they all were after the answer to this particular question. Where is he? Oh, where is he? We've got to find him. A search for God. Do you realize the basis of all world religions is, where is He? We've got to locate this God. We've got to find God. Hey, the reason for every prayer, the reason for every religious ceremony, the reason for offering incense, the reason, ladies and gentlemen, for dancing around a sacrifice altar, the reason for giving our money, the reason for tithing, the reason for worship, the reason for meditation, the whole deal is, oh, I've got to locate this God. Where is He? It's what this passage is all about. See, where is He is the fundamental of everything that's going on. Again, it's the whole basis of all world religions. The fundamental is the location of God. And I want to say something very forcibly that I'd like for you to think about. And the fact of the matter is, if your religion, if what you're doing, if your prayers, if your Bible reading, if your commitment, if your involvement in ministry, if everything you're doing in a religious sense does not bring an answer to this question, then hey, I would dump it. I would go looking someplace else. Because this is the down-to-it fundamental of everything that's going on. Where is He? See, the only reason we pay the light bill down at the church, the only reason we tolerate preaching, the only reason we go through the prayer time, the only reason we give our Bible involvement, the only reason for any of this is, oh, I've got to know Him. Oh, I've got to locate Him. Where is He? See, that is the fundamental of everything that's taking place. It's the issue of this passage. Where is He? It's the heart of all religion. You remember the old story back in the Old Testament about Elijah and the struggle he had, and finally the great contest that was called upon. The contest was going to be held upon Mount Carmel, and they'd all gathered in, and here were the prophets of Baal, 450 of the prophets of Baal, and then the prophets of the grove on top of that. And here's Elijah, one lone prophet of God. And what's the whole contest all about? What's the issue? What are they yelling about? What is all of this going down for? It's all about one single issue. Where is He? Who is the true God, and can He be located? And let the one who can locate the true God, and the God will answer, let it be. Let everybody worship that God. Let everything come under the domination of the God who can be located and who can answer. Where is He? Oh, you remember what happened. They built the sacrifice altar. It was a time of drought. They literally made a huge sacrifice altar. They dug trenches around it. They did everything they could do. Hey, they put the sacrifice on. The prophets of Baal went first. Elijah lounged underneath the tree, made fun of them, laughed at them. He said, hey, have at it, guys. Hey, call down your God. And the one who is real should answer by lightning bolts. That was playing right into their hands. You know, the god of Baal was the god of lightning bolts. Supposedly he was the god who was streaming across the sky, riding some kind of great stallion, juggling lightning bolts in his hand. And would be no problem for him at all, just to flash one down, burn up the sacrifice offering. So hey, let the God who is real, let the God who can be located, let Him answer by lightning bolts. Oh, you know what happened. Prophets of Baal began to pray. They prayed for hours and hours and hours. They began to cry out. Elijah laughed underneath the tree, making fun of them. Hey, they're crying out. Finally, they began to dance furiously around the sacrifice altar. Anything to get the attention of their God. Where is He? See, that's the fundamental. Hey, they're crying out from the depths of their hearts. They're screaming at the top of their lungs, all in an attempt to find where is, oh God of Baal, answer God Baal, where are you? He couldn't be located. Elijah said stuff like, oh, probably he's going on vacation. Elijah said, oh yeah, I know what's happening. He's taking his afternoon nap. Oh yeah, probably what the problem is he's hard of hearing, forgot to put his hearing aid in this morning. Your God isn't listening. You can't locate Him. Where is He? See, it's the fundamental of all religion itself. Where is He? That's what the whole thing is all about. Where is He? See, it's this passage. Finally, they're cutting themselves. Can you imagine it? The things that the people will go through in order to locate their God. They're cutting themselves, all in an attempt to say, hey, I've got to locate God. See, it's a desperation of the very heart itself. Where is He? Elijah finally said, hey guys, relax. You're going to bleed yourself to death. Relax, relax, sit back. let me try. And you remember the story, how they got water, even though it was a drought, buckets and buckets, and poured it all over the sacrifice altar, and dug trenches around it, and filled the trenches, and poured it on the rocks, and poured it on the sacrifice, and everything was sopping wet. And Elijah got down on his knees, and man, it didn't take him 5 seconds, brother. In a 5-second prayer, it didn't take cutting himself. It simply was a moment of intimacy with God, for God was all over the place, and lightning bolts began to flash, and sacrifice altars were burned up. In fact, the heat was so intense, it lapped up the water and dried it up. In fact, it melted the stone. Because the God who is reality, the God who can be located, the God of our great Jehovah, the God Jehovah himself, answered by fire. Whew, what a story that is. See, it's all about where is he. You see, religion, get this, religion cannot tolerate a silent God. Hey, whatever, religion can take a lot of things, man, but it can't tolerate a silent God. When God is silent, men go crazy. When God is silent, religion fades. When God is silent, hey, emptiness sets in. When God is silent, we're in deep, deep trouble. See, everything is about, where are you, God? We've got to hear from you. We've got to know you. We've got to have you in our lives. Hey, God, you've got to answer, and you've got to answer by fire. Where is he? See, it's the fundamental of this passage. Hey, is your God hearing? Is your God hearing? Is your God silent? Does your God have a relationship with you? Do you have a relationship with him? Is there that business of intimacy between you and your God? Do you know what it is to walk with him intimately, flow with him, move with him? Have you located him? See, that's the whole deal. And again, I want to say, man, if all your prayers and all your doing and all your dedication and all your tithing and all your worship and all your Bible reading and, hey, coming to school and going through all this, man, if all of that, hey, if it's not working, if it doesn't give you intimacy with God, I'm telling you, I wouldn't go another step, brother. I'd dump the thing as fast as I could, because that's the whole business of locating God. We must locate God. Where is he? You understand the tragedies of life? Yell this out at us. Where are you, God? Hey, we're driven to it consistently. Hey, the terrorist attacks upon our land and upon our people make us cry out and say, God, where are you in the middle of all this? Hey, God, where are you? Where are you? Why do you let this kind of thing go on? Hey, God, where is he? See, it's the fundamental. It's the fundamental. Moms and dads gather around their dying children and scream out, where are you, God? Husbands gather around their wife and cry out in the night hours in sickness and in pain. Where are you, God? Hey, wives, gather around their dead husbands and say, God, where are you? See, it's the desperate cry. We're driven to it. See, the circumstances of our lives bring us into that. God, we've got to locate you. Oh, God. Oh, God. Where are you, God? Where are you, God? There's a strange twist to all of this. You get into this as you get into Matthew. It's something of the presentation he's making. And as you get into the epistles, you see it even more predominantly. It's a strange twist. But the cry of our heart is, God, where are you? But did you know that's the cry of God's heart too? From the early business of redemption, God came looking for man. In other words, where are you? That's his question too, as he's constantly searching for us. See, the whole business of prevenient grace that we've talked about before tells us that, hey, you didn't come after God. God came after you. See, this was not about you and your search for him. This is about him and his search for you. See, the message of Jesus is that God has this, it's Christology. The message of Jesus is God has this overwhelming plan. And the plan is unfolding. And he's searching, longing, coming after, revealing himself to you. See, God is searching for you. Woo! God is looking for you. See, where is he? Oh, it's the fundamental. It's a strange twist. And that literally, this hunger that you have down deep inside of you is because God has located you. See, the reason you long for God, the reason you have hunger for God, the reason you hunger for righteousness, for hunger and thirst for righteousness, is because God has found you, man, and he's implanted that within you. The reason you have the capacity to love is God has found you and implanted something of His nature in the very image that He has made you in. See, God has located you. Where is He? Oh, He's found you, and He's consistently trying to reveal Himself to you. Now that's the strange twist. That while we have this overwhelming hunger inside of us for God, we have substituted, we have twisted the whole thing. We have thwarted the investigation. Wow, it's tragic. Let me tell you what Paul says in Romans 1:21. He gives us something of a picture of it. It goes like this. Because although they knew God, see, there it is. Hey, we knew God. God has revealed Himself. God is not hidden. God is not teasing us. God is not trying to stay away from us. God is not playing hide and seek, man. He's come. He's revealed Himself. For although they knew God, what did we do? They did not glorify Him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. In fact, he goes on in that same chapter in verse 25 to say this. They have exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator. What can I say? Hey, I've been there, you've been there, we've done that, man. Hey, God has literally come after us and revealed Himself to us, and we have this deep internal inside driving passion to know where God is. And even though we knew where He was, and we knew Him, and His revelation has come to us, we have gone our own way, we've strayed off. Somehow the pressure was too great upon us. We didn't respond like we should, and we literally ended up worshiping. Oh, we had to have God. We became our own God. Our own self-centered carnality rose up. Hey, we worshiped the creature rather than the Creator. But see, we had to worship something. See, the whole thing tells you that even in our twisted state, do you know what the situation is, man? The situation is that we have this longing for a relationship with God. See, the whole fundamental question is, where is He? It's the basis of the whole thing. It's this passage. Intimacy, relationship with God. See, the whole unfolding gospel story that's going to spill through the book of Matthew is going to have one focus. It's not about knowing Him. It's not about knowing about Him. And it's not even about knowing Him. It's about intimacy. It's about intimacy, man. It's about intimacy. See, it's not about knowing about Him, because that was the Pharisee thing, and you see that in an Old Testament. See, it's not about even knowing Him, because there was some sense of the knowledge of God as they had visitations of God in an Old Testament. But what's going on in this Christ in Christology is the actual opportunity of embracing, of intimacy, of being all tied in, of getting so tight with, of becoming one with, of the very flow of the person of God within us. See, that's the whole deal. How can I get through to you about that? How can that be revealed to you? How can you respond to the overwhelming desire of intimacy that you have for God? See, it's the whole thing. It's all about oneness. Oh, you remember in the Old Testament I told you that there is no Old Testament word for presence. That is, if you want to talk about being in the presence of God, there is no Hebrew word for that. So you know what word they used? In His face. Oh, I love that, man. In His face. See, that's what I want. That's what my heart cries for. I want to get in His face. See, I want to get so close to Him I can smell His cologne. I want to get so close to Him I can feel His breath on my cheek, man. In His face. See, I want to get so tight with Him that His body odor becomes mine. I want to get so tight with Him that I can feel His embrace, that I can know the wonder of His indwelt presence. I want to get tight with God in His face. See, that's the whole deal. And as we see Jesus unfolding in the New Testament, what are we finding? Oh, we're finding that very reality of truth, that we have the possibility of being tight with God just like that. That the wonder of the whole thing is that everything that was going on in Jesus can now happen in us. And what we see in Jesus is literally man in intimacy, man flowing with the life of, man partaking in the very nature of, man literally involved deeply within, man and God literally becoming one as God built man to be in the first place. See, where is He? Do you get it? This is the fundamental of everything that's going on. That we were built to be indwelt and totally dependent upon God. We were never made to live our own life, man. We were never made to work for God. We were never made to carry responsibilities for Jesus' sake. Glory to God. Isn't He lucky He's got me? We were never made for that. Do you understand? We were made that the life of Jesus and our life should become one until there's no difference between my life and His life, because His life is my life. I was made to be a stage upon which Jesus acts. I was made to be the literal flow of the life of God to my world. I was made that He might live His life through me. And the fundamental of the whole thing is, where is He? Oh, I've got to know Him. I've got to be intimate with Him. That life will never be fulfilled. That every individual you're going to meet today, hey, down in the ministry, work on the street, man, is all going to be about what? Desperate heart cry to find Him. Substituted a lot of things. Lost the vision of the real God. Oh, got to bring them back. Got to bring them back. For the answer to the heart's cry of their very being is, I've got to know God. Hey, the fundamental inside, it's camouflaged. They're running from it. But the deep internal driving passion is, I've got to know God. I've got to know God. Where is He? I can think of nothing more drastic. I can think of nothing more depressing. I can think of nothing more unsettling than I have to stand here and say to you, oh, there is no answer. You cannot find Him. Oh, that would be devastating. That would throw us into absolute chaos. That would bring us into absolute suicide. That would make us want to end the whole thing. If there was no hope, if there was no dream, if there was no vision. But the good news is this. I don't have to stand here and tell you, hey, He can't be found. He can't be located. You can try your best and still not find Him. I don't have to do that. I can look you right in the eye and say, hey, do you know the absolute truth is He is searching for you. You can find Him. You can know Him. The reality of His person, intimacy, it's all that He craves for your life. It's what He wants to give you. Hey, God has revealed Himself. Ah, it's the story of the wise men. God has revealed Himself. He can be located. In fact, I want to go to the location of God as found in this passage. Now, the interesting thing about it all is the fact that we look at the whole thing and say, well, okay, let's have your formula. We've heard all kinds of preachers and all kinds of teachers, and every church seems to have their little formula. This is the way you find God. Step number 1, step number 2, you're on your way through it. Okay, meet the requirement. Wow, you're in. So we go through these formula things. But what we're after in this particular passage is not about a formula at all. Because the answer is something a bit startling. Oh, it's been all over the study already, but it's a little bit startling, actually. The answer is the fact of, number 1, revelation. It's in the passage. Do you see it? Revelation. The answer to the question, where is He, is, well, God has revealed Himself. God has been revealing Himself all along. God has not been hiding. Hey, come on. God has not been playing hide and seek. God has not been teasing us. Come on. God is not withdrawn from us. God is in the business of revealing Himself. God has come to us. It's the wonder of Christ. Christ, God with us. Emmanuel, God with us. Chapter 1, verse 23. It's the prophecy itself. See, it's the whole idea that God has literally brought Himself to our level and has become one with us. And all of this is an attempt to bring a revelation that we can see the possibility of intimacy with Him. So the whole wonder of the Christ is the unfolding revelation of what we can be in God. God with us. God in us. God, where is He? Hey, He has come to us. Revelation has taken place. Revelation has taken place. So you see, there's no formula. There's no skip, hop, jump. There's no make a prayer like this, then give money like that, then light incense like that. Then God will reveal Himself. God has already revealed Himself, man. He's already after you, man. He's already standing in your pathway, eyeball to eyeball. In fact, the truth of the matter is, if you're not going to be intimate with Him, you're going to have to fight it every inch of the way. See, the only way you can keep from embracing Him and being embraced by Him, the only way you can keep from being all you ought to be, is the fact you've got to run, son. You've got to run. And even then, He's going to run after you. Don't you see it? Hey, it's not a matter of struggling to get to Him. It's a matter of, hey, would you just stop where you are and quit running? Hey, would you just stop dead in your tracks and let Him embrace you? See, if you would ever, in an exhausted state, just collapse where you are, quit your trying, quit your doing, quit all your stuff, all your self-centered stuff, just collapse at His feet, He would fill you. He would come in His greatness. He would reveal Himself to you. See, it's not a matter of struggle, try harder, work at it. It's a matter of leaning, resting, responding to the God who already is desperately, desperately, desperately hunting you down and bringing revelation. It's in the passage, man. It's in the passage. Where is He? Revelation. He's revealing Himself. For instance, there is the revelation through the voice of the prophets. Oh, hey, that's obvious, isn't it? We've gone over this and over this, that all the way through the saturation, there is this prophecy thing. The prophets have talked to us about Him. We have the prophecy right here in chapter 2, verse 5 and 6, the story of the wise men. Verse 5, so they said to him in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet. Come on, man. The prophets have sounded the message. The prophets have given us the truth. The prophets have yelled in our ear. The prophets have been in our face. The prophets have wagged their finger at us. The prophets have told us. The prophets, Moses from Mount Sinai. Oh, you remember the scene. God in a dark cloud, lightning bolts flashing, comes thundering down, sits on Mount Sinai. All the people of Israel got out there about 5 o'clock in the morning, man. It was chilly, brisk. Hey, they're beating their chest, trying to keep warm. Kids are there crying, and everybody's looking at one another saying, good night, what are we doing here? And Moses told us to get here, and we don't know exactly why, except some big deal is going to take place, and he doesn't want us to miss it. So here they are, hey, hanging around, hope this gets on, want to get back for my morning coffee. And all of a sudden the ground begins to tremble, man. Hey, things begin to shake. Hey, everything's in turmoil. And we begin to look at one another as Israelites and say, whoa, what's going on? And then finally somebody explained to us, there's a little cloud way over there. It's moving this way, and it's God. And when God gets that close, you know what happened? Ground trembles, man. Things begin to shake. And, oh, we're all going to die. No, you're not going to die. God's going to land up there on Mount Sinai. Well, hey, put a rope around the base of that mountain, and if anyone touches the mountain while God is there, he'll drop dead. Listen, Moses, don't get us involved in this. Hey, we're backing off, man. We're backing off. Hey, we're backing off. We're headed out of here. Hey, you go up there and talk to him. You get involved with him, but listen, hey, you come and tell us what he had to say. So prophets were born. In fact, even in that passage, as you go back there in Exodus, you'll find out that even in that passage, there was the idea that the prophet would come. That Moses was kind of the first of a long line of prophets that was literally going to unfold. And as you get into the Gospel of John, you see them talking about the prophet. And that's Jesus himself, who has come and fulfilled the prophecy role to literally reveal to us the revelation. Prophets, man. Do you realize that every single ceremony, every sacrifice that was offered, all the traditions of Israel, all came through the voice of the prophets? See, God spoke to and revealed through the voice of the prophets. Hey, we've heard the voice of the prophets. And the voice of the prophets have sounded loud and clear, and they have come to it. We've handled it, man. We've handled it. The traditions and the ceremonies, we got into it. We went through it. It became patterns for us. And maybe that's the whole problem. We've become so accustomed to it. We've become so used to it. We've missed the wonder of what it's all about. We've bogged down. Oh, if we could hear it fresh and anew. The voice of the prophets is still sounding in our ear. There's not only the voice of the prophets, there's the voice of the pagans. Again, is it not significant? The pagans, I'm talking Gentiles from the east, have come banging on the door of the Jews. See, they're the have-nots and the haves, man. The have-nots have banged on the door of the haves. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I mean, Gentiles, outsiders, pagans, believe in many gods, have their own worship structure. Come on. They don't keep the Jewish laws. They haven't had the Messianic promises. Come on. Hey, they're all bogged down in lots of things. Who knows what they do, man? They break all of our rules. But guess what? They're banging on our door and God is speaking through them. Isn't it ironic that God uses the strangest kinds of things to speak to us? Do you realize how radical this is? This would be like Jehovah's Witnesses coming and knocking on our door saying, let me tell you about Jesus, now you can be saved. I mean, what are you talking about? It would be like Calvinists talking to us about holiness. What on earth is going on here? It's just ironic. It's just way out of sight. It's far removed. How could this possibly be that God would use the voice of the prophets and then the voice of the pagans, and the pagans would run up and down the street yelling out the question, where is he? Where is he? Warning us. Hey, has God been speaking to you? Hey, the next door neighbor? Guy down the street yelling and cussing at you? Wonder what God has been saying through him. Hey, your wife? Wonder what God has been saying through her. Hey, do you hear it? Do you see it? Do you feel it? Do you know it? Hey, the voice of God. Oh, the voice has been speaking. Revelation has come. It's a revelation of the voice of the prophets. There's the voice of the pagans. Oh, there's the voice of the planets. You see that? Isn't it ironic again that God selected a star, made one, whatever he did, man? He put something in the sky to yell out and literally spoke the revelation of his truth, of himself to a world. Pagan astrologers got the reality of the truth. Woo! Pagan astrologers heard the voice of God and revelation came to them. Can you imagine it? It's an overwhelming concept. Hey, God literally speaks through the planets. Hey, there's an interesting verse that's given to us in Romans. I want you to turn to it and look at it. You need to see it for yourself. Romans chapter 1 and it's verse 20. And most of us have looked at this and struggled with it. But it's the awareness that we are all without excuse. Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Go back up to 19. Because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. So there's a twofold revelation to every individual. In them and to them. Oh, let's talk about to them. Verse 20. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Every single one of us, he says, without excuse. Without excuse. How do you explain that? Because there is a revelation that has come to every single individual. Again, Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen. Well, they're being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead. Hey, the planets are screaming out at us, man. Hey, the very grass under our feet yells at us. The trees are bringing forth the message. Hey, it's everywhere. Your very body, the headache you have, man. Everything that's going on in your life, physical things, are all yelling at you because it's bringing a revelation of God, and every man is without excuse. Isn't that a wonder? Every individual without excuse. Here we are. Hey, where is he? No problem. God has been revealing himself. God has been revealing himself. Voice of the prophets, voice of the pagans, voice of the planets. But there's not only revelation. Where is he? Not only is there the revelation as you saturate in this passage, but I want you to also see there is the whole idea of the record. Now, we could spend hours on this and probably will in other courses, but the record. Oh, the record is down in verse 4 and 5. They've gathered together, of course, the chief priest, Herod has, and the scribes. And he said, hey, I want to know where this Christ is going to be born. And, of course, they turned to the record. See, they are the keepers of the record. And where is he? It's all in the record, man. It's all in the record. And he quotes to them Micah chapter 5, verse 2, which is verse 6 of chapter 2 of Matthew. So the prophet Micah chapter 5, verse 2, gives us the revelation of where he is. Hey, it's in the record, man. It's in the book they handled. They handled it all the time. For you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah. Look at it, verse 6. For you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Hey, it's a matter of record. In fact, as we've said in another class, it's interesting that if they'd have gone to the record, Daniel chapter 9, they could have found out even when he was going to be born. They could have dated this thing. It's in the record. What's their problem? It's all in the record. But they missed it. Matter of record. Now, this is new to the wise men. Oh yeah, this is new to the wise men, but again, wasn't new to the chief priest and the scribes. See, they were the keepers of the record, and they had lost, the keepers of the record had lost the passion for the record. I don't know what to do with that. That burdens me, that grits me down inside. That you could be so, you could become so accustomed to, you could just go along with, you could just handle this thing day after day after day and become accustomed to it until you, the keeper of the record, have lost the passion for the record. Why would that be? How could that be? How could you live in the Word? How could you become a person of the Word? How could you? Whoa. I know how you can do it. See, you come to this thing as an academic pursuit. It's a part of your career, you understand. It's one of the things you have to deal with. Maybe you're a teacher at a school. Yeah, you teach the material. Hey, you've gone over the material. You know, you have developed the material. You have seen it. Hey, it's facts. You go through it. But see, facts, you got to go beyond the facts, man. This is not about information. This is about the truth. And you know what the truth is? Jesus himself. And this whole thing is all about what? The revelation of truth, which is Jesus. See, when facts become experience, experience moves into reality, and the reality is Him. And when you embrace Him, suddenly it's not just black ink on white paper. Suddenly it's not just literature. Suddenly you're not just dealing with information. You're dealing with Him. And passion is found in the person of Jesus Christ. Passion is found in the person of Jesus Christ. You getting it? Passion is found in the person of Jesus Christ. See, if all we've got is an academic pursuit, man, we are bored to tears. It's all about Him. It's all about Him. And you do not lose the passion when you are into Him. This is why we are constantly talking to you about saturation in the Word. Yes, saturation in this book. Yes, but you got to saturate in His person. You got to get into Him. It's the written Word, the living Word, and the combination of that really begins to come together, that changes our lives forever. Come on. All of my life, I've heard missionaries, of course born and raised in the church, and all of my life heard missionaries. And back in my day, when coming up through the ranks, the missionaries would always have a story that they would tell. And the details would be different and the circumstances would be altered, but it was basically the same identical story. Heard it hundreds of times by missionaries. They'd always end their missionary speech on it. And the details again would be different because of the different cultures and the different setting, but they would tell how they went into a certain tribe back in such and such a place, and when they got there they found that no gospel message had ever been preached in that place, and no church was there, and there was no witness of Christ that was present. And so they would propose a service, and they would go to the chief of the tribe or whatever and get permission and talk to him, and in the process of talking to him, the permission would be granted, and the news would spread throughout the countryside that a service was going to be held, some kind of gathering was going to be held. And of course people would come from everywhere. They walked for miles and miles and miles to get there, and would come, and finally the time for the service came, and everybody's gathered in, and people are standing all around and sitting everywhere, and it's crowded, and people from all over the region have come. And the simple gospel story, missionary would give it. Talk about Jesus, talk about how God so loved us that He sent His Son, and this Son died for us so that we could literally be forgiven of our sins, and we could be transformed, and we didn't have to live under the guilt, and that God could literally be known and He could indwell you. And while the message would be preached out to the crowd, and the crowd would respond, and hundreds would come to an altar, and a church would be established, and it was a great time to tell the story for the first time to a group of people. Then the story would continue. Hey, service is over. Everybody has gone their way except an old man. Here's an old man. He's somewhat crippled up. He's got a cane. He comes limping up to the missionary and looks at the missionary square in the eye and says something like this. Missionary, hey missionary, how long have you known this story? How long have you known this truth? How long have you been involved in this? And all the missionary would say, listen, I was raised in the church and I've heard this story all my life, so I've known this story 50 years, and then with tears streaming down his face, with a quiver in his lips, this old man, he would look the missionary right in the eye and say, why did you wait so long to come and tell us? Why haven't you come sooner? Why didn't you send us word before this? Why are we just now hearing about this message? See, the keepers of the word have lost the passion. My heart is burdened that you might know the passion. The passion. You've got to know the passion. Oh, the passion of the living person. Hey, academic pursuit, you get into it. Learn the facts, man. But oh, you got to get into Him. See, where is He? It's only when somehow God is located and man and God come together until our life and His life are the same. It's only on that kind of intimacy that the passion begins to burn. And we're the keepers of the Word, man. We're the keepers of the Word. We've been given the responsibility of this book, and it's not just information, it's Him. We are to be the stage upon which He can act. Intimacy with Him until His Word literally becomes alive before us. What's your passion like, man? What's your passion? Where is He? Oh, that's easy. Hey, revelation. He's revealed Himself. We don't have to go looking. He's pounding on our door, man. He's bringing stars in our sky, son. Hey, the voice of the prophets is sounding. Pagans are knocking on our door. Planets are literally screaming at us. Everything around us is driving us to Him. Hey, it's a matter of record. We've got it in the book. We've seen it. Hey, we've read it. You're handling it these days. Hey, where is He? Intimacy with God. Where is He? No problem. He's come your way. Now, one of the interesting things you need to saturate in this passage is all about the responses. See, there's several different kinds of responses going on in this passage. God is knocking on the door. What's the response? Oh, of course, the proper response is that of the wise men. You see that. For you see, there's not only the revelation, there's not only the record, there's the response. See, the wise men are responding. What? They packed their bags, brother. They've headed out, man. They're on the move. They're going on a journey. 2 years riding on camels. 2 years on a camel? Come on. Hey, they have gone to all of the expense of what it took for them to go this journey. Left their family, packed their bags, moved out. Why? Got to find Him. Got to find Him. All about responding to the revelation. All about embracing this newborn King. Scribes and Pharisees, they're responding. Oh yeah, they yawn after they've given the message. Hey, keepers of the word, verse 4 and 5, man. Hey, say, hey, here's where the prophet said, Bethlehem. Well, listen, it's only 5 miles down the road. You going to go down there? Nah, hey, got things to do. Hey, are you going to go down and check this out? Nah, don't have time. Hey, I've got to watch TV. Hey, are you going? No. Listen, I got church responsibility. Listen, we got to get ready for the sacrifice this afternoon. Oh, yeah, we ran out of incense. I got to go get that supply. Be sure that that's all set up. See, they're responding, but it's a negative response. Everything they have been looking for up to this time is 5 miles down the road. And they won't even bother to go. They yawn, turn over, go back to sleep. God forgive us. Oh, there's Herod. He's not like the scribes and the Pharisees. He's not going back to sleep. He is in defiance. He's going after this thing. He's on a search. He wants to destroy. He wants to eliminate. He's evil. He's deceptive. He's responding. Hey, he's responding. Oh, what blindness there is in him. Here it is, seeking with the wrong motive. He's got angles. Oh, he's seeking the Christ child, but he's got a hidden agenda. He's seeking the Christ child, but see, he's got undercurrent stuff going on. Talk about your life. Talk about my life. Oh, God, help us. I want to be like the wise men. Where is he? Fundamental. All religion hangs on it. Hey, again, I want to say, if your religion, your prayers, man, your Bible reading, your commitment, the stuff you're into, come on, hey, the incense you offer, boy, hey, the stuff you do, all the ministry you're involved in, if all that you're involved in religion isn't bringing you an intimacy with God, if you don't have intimacy with God, I'd chuck it, son. I'd push it aside. I'd look someplace else because it isn't working. Because the whole deal about this business is intimacy with God. How is your intimacy with Him?